All right, we're going to do a demonstration of the smallest of our Riverdance Max series. This is the Mini Max. It is a one-stage Simplex jig. Terminology with mineral jigs is Simplex if it has one hutch or center cell, and if it has two, like the top of that machine over there, that's called a duplex. And that is actually the only, first ever in the world, two multi-stage triplex mineral jigs. So that is one machine, one motor driving, two stages, three different hutches. It gives you three different classifications of material when you're done. And I'm going to mimic that with this demonstration here by running all the material through a coarse screen, and then we'll see what we get. And then we're going to do it again with a mid-size screen, and then we'll do it one more time with the fine screen, and you'll see what that does, and then I'll point you back to the fact that this does it all in one shot. But you're back, you ready to help? Okay, this is my helper. Okay, first thing we're going to do is we're going to hook up water and power to this thing. It takes very little water. Your garden hose is plenty of power, plenty of water to run this thing. It just needs to overflow. Water is introduced here into the hutch. It flows up through the body of the hutch, up through this screen that's on the top, and you can come up and look if you want to. And out the front, that's where the water's going to discharge. That's where your garbage material is going to discharge. All the stuff you want to keep is either going to stay in this tray on top of the screen or go down through the body of the hutch, out a discharge spout down here into a collection bucket. Absolutely. Can you go around to the front of the machine and hook this hose to the quick disconnect? Come on around to the front. One of you, whoever wants to be the water person. Take that hose and just push it on there. You don't have to do anything special, just push it till it clicks. Okay? It clicked? Okay. I think we're, a little harder. There we go. Perfect. Now we're going to put these in the top, and I'm going to do this part, but I'm going to have you do something in just a second. So this is jig shot. This is just 1/4 inch steel shot. It's BB gun slingshot ammo. You can use BB gun ammo, which is 1/8 inch, with the same effect. I use 1/4 inch steel shot. The steel shot is bedding material. It threw it in there. It supercharges the separation process. It lifts and separates slightly with each pulse as the water goes up through the screen and comes down together and closes as it goes down through the screen. And it is spherical, so it won't lock together and create a barrier that the gold can't get through. So I put it right in here on top of the screen. And you want to leave about a 1/2 inch or so from the top of the jig shot to the top edge of the screen, the chute there, so that none of the jig shot goes out. As it pulses up and down, it's going to stay in this tray until something heavier than it pushes it out. All the rocks, you can put 1, 2, 3, 4 inch rocks in here. They will not push this out because this is much heavier, at least 2 to 3 times heavier than any rock that's going to go in there. And obviously a big rock is heavier than this little tiny thing, but we're talking about specific gravity. How much heavier is this than water on a scale? Gold is 19 times heavier than water. This jig shot is 7.8 times heavier than water, and all the gravel and sand and other things you're going to put in there on average are 2 to 3 times heavier than water. So huge disparity. Very easy to trap the gold. Very easy to keep these in here. If you see these spitting out, that's a good problem to have. It's probably gold getting up under it and pushing it out. So the heavy material will continue pushing the light material out as the water is pulsing. That is how the mineral jig works. This rocker arm just pulses this diaphragm up and down as the water is slowly filling and overflowing, and the material the heavies are sinking, and the lights are getting kind of bounced out and washed away very slowly, pushed out by heavier material. Okay, I need you to flip the switch over on the side there. Remember that switch? Turn that on. Thank you. And we're going to hook up power to this. This has AC or DC power capability. It's wired to plug in directly to your wall or hook up to a 12-volt battery. I have a voltage regulator on an 18-volt 5 amp hour Milwaukee power tool battery. You can get them for DeWalt or whatever your favorite flavor of battery is for your power tools. But that's a very small, compact, powerful battery. Lithium batteries are fantastic. In fact, I have my pump hooked up to a 20 amp hour lithium battery that weighs 5 pounds, and it will run This setup will run this thing for about 6 hours with no stopping if you have that much energy. So this is pulsing at 300 times a minute, and it's doing what, once you put dirt in there, it's doing what you do with a gold pan, stratifying the material over and over and over, putting it in suspension, pulling it down, putting it in suspension, pulling it down, and it's very effective. It will trap all the coarse gold, nuggets, and pickers. Anything that's too big to go through the screen will stay on the screen, trapped right under that jig shot, and all the smaller gold will go down through the body into the concentrates bucket. This is, I don't know how much gold is in here. This was brought to me. This is from Willow Creek. Somebody did some mining and brought me their concentrates. I put one shark's tooth, small shark's tooth, and did I count 5 or 6? I think 6 little sapphires in here. So even if we don't see any gold, just to prove that this will separate anything that's more has a higher specific gravity than the gravel, we'll see those. So I'm going to go ahead and feed this in there, and then we'll see what happens. And there's a scooper right by your elbow. Nope, the scoop down there. Thank you. All right, here, let's do this. Why don't you scoop it? You scoop it and hand me the scoop, and I'll put it in here because I don't have a step stool or anything for you. Perfect. And feel free to come up here and look at it. You can put your fingers in there and see what's going on if you want to. Just don't put your fingers down there. Here. Once we get more material in there, you'll be able to start. Now, you'll feel more of the material moving. Every scoop that I put in here, the heaviest material pushes anything lighter out. It's not the water that's moving it. In fact, if you come up here and look, if you look at the particles in the water, nothing is rushing that way until you get to the chute. The little sand, everything is just kind of bouncing up and down and slowly moving that way until it gets up to the front, and then it starts to pick up speed. So water is not moving the material like a sluice box does. It's actually the heavy materials pushing the light material out. And you can feed this all day long. It's self-cleaning in that way until you have too much heavy material and that begins to block the screen. You can continue running it. And that's actually a problem that one of our customers had. They used this to do their final clean out on their dredge in the Bering Sea at Nome, and they had 27 or 28 ounces packed into a little tray this size, and it impacted the screen. The water could no longer get through the screen, and they had to stop and clean out. Okay, we'll go ahead and we want to get as much of this as we can. It's pushing all the material we want to keep. Anything we want to keep is going to stay in here or go down there, and anything we don't want is going to go out there. And there's some good sized little rocks in here. Has this been through a screen at all, Colby? No. So it's unscreened material. I didn't see anything bigger than about 3/4 of an inch, but we'll see here in a minute if there's anything that big or bigger still in the tray. All right. If you want to, you can put your fingers in here and kind of dig down a little bit and feel that water pulsing. It's a neat kind of experiment. Put your fingers down in there. Keep working them down a little bit. Yeah. It's cold, isn't it? All right. So if you're just working for gold, as it goes, you just let it clean itself out. If no more material's coming out, you can kind of guide things to the front because it's stratified in here. The heaviest material should be at the very bottom, then the steel, and then all the rocks and gravel on top. But I have sapphires and shark's tooth, and they're only a tiny bit heavier than the gravel, so I don't want to scoot too much material out and risk moving them. But otherwise, you can clean out pretty much everything that's on top of the jig shot. Once you get down to there, that'll save you time in your final cleanup. I'm going to go ahead and stop. And let's turn that switch off again on the end. All right. How good are you guys with your fingers? Can you take this? Can you do this and take this off without dropping it? All right. Take both of those off. Yes. Thank you for your help. All right. Okay, so this is where we're going to find out how much, with this 30 mesh screen, which is our roughest screen, the biggest holes in it, how much material do we have in here to pan out in our oversized fraction, and how much material made it through to the bottom? And then we'll compare that here in a few minutes with a smaller size screen. I need that clear bucket over there because that box, we're gonna dump it out into there so everybody can see what's in there, in case there's anything cool to see. All right. So the first thing I always look for is if there's any nuggets or flakes stuck to the screen, and I don't see any.
It looks like that.
Something shiny there a little bit. It's not gold though. That's all right. We're gonna wash this out the rest of the way. If you want to look, there's not a whole lot in here. Oh, I do see a piece of gold, I think. Colby, I think you did. Yeah, right there. There's a piece right there. Yep. All right, so we're gonna wash out. I see sapphires. I see one piece of gold. We'll get to it here in just a second. This is very easy to pan out when you have your 30 mesh screen, because all the sand and fine heavies go right through the screen, and all the light material, most of the light material goes out the front. So it's really just gravel in here, which is very, very easy to pan out. But I have all this steel shot in here, which took up most of the space in that tray. I get rid of that by pouring it through a 1/4 inch screen, and I'm gonna use my hose to do some washing here. Can you go ahead and turn that pump on? Thank you. All right. I'm going to rinse this off into here real quick.
Okay, that's over here.
There we go.
It stays on the...
Now let's take a look, because some of these sapphires were big. Let's see. There's one. These are sapphires from Ethiopia, but they're found here in America. I don't know about Alaska. Some of these will be on the top here in the 1/4 inch plus fraction, and some might have made their way down through. We're looking for 6, and right now we have 5. We'll see if one of them, and there might be a shark's tooth up here, or it might have fallen through the screen too, because they're pretty. Oh, looky there. There's the shark's tooth. So that stayed in, and so did at least 5 of the sapphires. Still looking to see if it's up here. And then we'll check down below just in case it went through. But oh, there we go. There's number 6 right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're good. Awesome. Anybody want a little sapphire?
What's your favorite for you? And just like thank you.
You're welcome.
You put it in your jam.
Okay. Awesome. You're welcome. Hey, out of curiosity, does anybody know what you call prospecting, or what they call prospecting in Australia? They have a funny word for it. It's called fossicking. That's kind of a weird. I had to Google that. I heard people using that all the time, and I had no idea what they were talking about. And I Googled it, and that's what it is. It's prospecting. Let's see. Now we got to put this in a pan. But look at that. There's almost nothing in there as far as what I call the oversized fraction, what was trapped in the tray. When you use a 30 mesh screen, your clean out is very easy. I could have run 10 buckets through there, and I still would only have that amount to clean out at the end. So that's one of the cool things about a mineral jig. I'm going to put this in a gold pan. Let me move this real quick and put this in here, and I do believe I saw a flake in there. Oh. Helps to be coordinated. Doesn't always work for me. Let's see if I can do this without knocking it down. go. Probably good. Okay, let's take a quick look. Actually, I'm going to put some water in here. And we'll... That's silly. I've got a big bucket of water right here. Can you turn that pump off for me? And then I will move this so you guys can get over here too. And look. Alright. So, when you're panning, it's a good idea to shake it often. Stop and shake it all back down. So that lets the heaviest stuff sink to the bottom and the light stuff rise to the top. And then just slowly wash it out. And even those bigger rocks are coming out. That's pretty cool how that works. And then we'll just get down to the bottom of it real quick this way. We'll see if there's anything else that's shiny in there. I think there was one flake, unless I was wrong and that wasn't gold, but I am pretty sure. So,
I think I see.
there's one. There's definitely a nice chunk, couple. There's one there. There's a big one right there. There's a little tiny piece and a big piece and another tiny piece. A couple small pieces there. Very nice. Yeah, there's definitely gold in there. Awesome. All right. Well, that's good. That's just in the plus size fraction here. Don't pull it out of there. We're gonna keep that for a minute. Okay, check that out. That piece of gold is floating. Have you ever seen that? That's what happens. Gold is hydrophobic, and so are other precious metals. When it touches the surface tension of the water, gold doesn't want to let the water on it, penetrate it, so it will float on top. It's kind of like a boat, even though it's heavy. If you touch it, it'll sink right away. But we put jet dry or soap or some kind of surfactant in the water to break the surface tension so that doesn't happen. That's why I have that here. So when we pan, usually I don't have to do that in the coarse material, but that time we did. That should have gone down through the screen. If we'd have let it run for a little bit longer, that would have ended up in our concentrates down below. But yeah, there's some finer gold up in here too, right up on the edge. Yeah, so that's actually not bad for somebody not knowing if there's any gold in there or not. Okay, so we'll leave that for a second. Now let's take a look at this. I am not going to pan this one out because I want to run this back through the machine with a finer screen on it and see how much we're going to cut out. All right, part 2, we're going to do a further evolution of this demo. We just ran some material from Willow Creek blind through the 30 mesh screen. Didn't know if there was any gold in it. We did find gold in it. There was a good little picker and some one other teeny tiny, what I would call a picker also, and then some tiny flower gold in there. And then we're going to take the concentrates from that. I recombined the gold with the fine concentrates that we did not pan, and we're left with about a cup of material here. We're going to condense that down even further, concentrate it down further, and separate more out. I also added one tiny shark tooth and 2 sapphires so that we can see even material that's only a little bit heavier than the gravel in there can be captured. Gold is way heavier, very easy to capture. Anybody can do it. With one of these machines, absolutely anybody can do it. So I'm going to go ahead and get this thing started. We're going to hook up the water first. Just a quick disconnect. These machines come with a hose, just like you see here, and a quick disconnect. And I'm putting 1 shark's tooth and 2 sapphires into the pan with the material I'm going to put in there. I'm going to add jig shots, 1/4 inch steel shot into the top tray here, right on top of the screen. This has a 60 mesh screen. We used a 30 mesh screen earlier, and it had 30 openings per inch, so the holes were pretty big. This has 60 openings per inch, so the holes are teensy tiny. And we're going to run the same material through it and see how much it kicks out, and see if we can, at the same time, keep those sapphires and that shark's tooth in the tray. So I have the water hooked up. I have this hooked up to a Milwaukee power tool battery. It also works off AC power in your house or a 12-volt car battery. Right now the water is filling up the hutch and it's going to overflow out the top. It's also coming out the bottom into the discharge pan. This is where your fine concentrates are going to go. Anything too big, there's a screen in the top tray, so anything that's too big to go through the screen that's heavy enough to work its way down to the screen, meaning it's heavier than this steel shot in here, the gold, is going to either go down there if it's small or stay up here if it's not small. I'm going to turn this on.
Lift up water.
There's a submersible pump. I've got a 2-tub recirculating system under here. And it's, yeah, you can use your garden hose, or if you're out in the creek, just use a little bilge pump or submersible pump. Doesn't need much, 500 gallon per hour or so. So all we do is feed material into the top, and this has already been through a 30 mesh screen, so it's pretty fine material. In the demo just a few minutes ago, we added this in there. The rocks were about 3/4 inches and smaller, and we got all of those out with that first process. Now we're going to add the fine sand, 1 shark's tooth and two gemstones, and there's a little bit of gold in here. We saw at least 2 fairly good sized pieces of gold and a bunch of little teeny tiny gold, so we're going to see how well this captures it. I'm going to pour a little of this water off. Then I'm going to, oh, sorry if I these little ones are $600. This is a backpacker. It's 12 pounds. Very easy to pick up and carry. You can feed it pretty fast. I'm going slow because I've got tiny material here and hard to get it out of the pan.
Get paper.
But you can feed a bucket, 5-gallon bucket into this thing in about 10 minutes. Our duplex jig, which is the same action, same type of machine, just has 2 hutches. There's one on the table back there. That one you can feed about 1/4 of a cubic yard an hour through that thing. You can run a bucket in 6 to 8 minutes. All right, we'll call that good. I'm just gonna let it run for a minute and let the material kind of clean out. Get these bigger rocks and things out of here. That was actually with the jig shot. Other than the sapphire and shark's tooth that are, I see 1 sapphire there. Yeah, both sapphires are right there. We'll see them more clearly in a minute. They're in the back over here. And then the shark's tooth is hiding in there somewhere, but I'm confident it didn't kick it out.
Oh,
Okay, we'll go ahead. I'm going to letting it, any sand that's still in here, get down through the screen if it's heavy enough. It's still percolating just a little bit. Looks like it's about cleaned out though. But man, there's not much sand left in the tray there. I'm going to hit the off button. And unlike a sluice box, you can turn these off and turn them on and not affect you won't wash them out when you do that. So if your pump fails or if you want to stop and eat lunch, just turn it off and turn it back on when you're ready to go. Clean out is super easy for this. This again classifies the material as it's separating by specific gravity. So you have 2 different types of concentrates here. What's trapped on top of the tray, it's the oversized fraction, and it goes down into the concentrates tub, which in this case is -60, very, very small material. So getting that out of here is a big bonus. If I had to put 10 buckets through here, I could have put 1/4 of a cubic yard of material through here, and you'd still only have that much material because the oversized fraction is limited by the size of the tray, and the tray is very small, and it's halfway full of jig shot. So there's not much material. It comes, well, you choose your screen, 30, 60, or 100. That's a 30 mesh screen. The one in here is halfway in between these. That's 100 mesh. Very, very, very fine. If you have all 3 screens, you can run your material through the coarse screen, then run it through the next and the next. And those are, I want to say $111. You can get them at Alaska Mining and Diving or from me. I'm the manufacturer. No. I have sold to one of the boats on Bering Sea Gold though. They did their final clean out with one of our jigs last year. Yeah. Okay, so I see a piece of gold trapped right there. I'll get it in the light so you can see it right there. Let's see. So there's one. We'll call that a win. That's in there. There's a washer. It was stuck there. Okay, one sapphire, one shark's tooth, and there's the second sapphire. So it didn't spit these out. That's good. That means it kept the the sort of heavy stuff. Now we'll get the jig shot out and see if there's more gold in here. So I do that by screening it through a 1/4 inch screen because this jig shot is 1/4 inch. This 1/4 inch screen will let everything else pass through except for any rocks and the jig shot that's bigger than 1/4 inch. And then I'll pan it right there too. So let me take my hose. Excuse me, I don't want to bump into you. There we go.
Be wet again.
Oh, I turned my pump off.
Right.
Okay, here we go. I'm just wash it down into here. Only takes a second. And then this is what I was left with. Now you're going to have a little more than that if your material, depending on your material, but that's very manageable, right? If I was to run a whole bunch of material through and that's all I had to pan for the coarse stuff, especially if you know you have coarse gold, and like some folks that were just in here, they mine in Nome also. They mine in the deep water, and they have very coarse gold. They know they have about 40 ounces in their clean out, and they have a certain percentage is coarse gold and a certain percentage is middle and super fine gold. So they know how much they have. If you know that, you can target it with the right screen to keep it in this top tray, so you can just clean out the top tray and save yourself a ton of work, and then keep working on the bottom stuff, getting it smaller and smaller.
Go.
And this is all plus 60 material here, and I'm going to add a little bit of jet dry into that water. There's a little bit in the recirculating system here, but it doesn't. Oh, I need to wash that into there too. This tray needs to be. We don't want to miss anything. Turn that off again. I hear the generator's back there. Some fan or something on the back there. I keep thinking my pump is on.
Yeah, there's a lot outside back there too.
Clean it up pretty good. I usually find a little bit more after it dries. Tap it out. Tap the tray out after it dries, and you'll usually get a little bit more. But add a little bit of jet dry, and then it breaks the surface tension of the water. Gold is hydrophobic, and the small gold will want to float. You'll pour gold right off if it picks up and floats on you. I see a piece in there, or a couple pieces in there already, so I'm gonna get rid of just a little bit of grub. I'm gonna step over here in front of this thing so I can have a little sunlight. Put this over here out of the way. You guys can feel free to get up close if you want to. I just want to get in the sun here. Alright, that's good enough. There's a little bit of gold showing up there. I've already seen the two big pieces, and there's a third piece that's fairly good size that I don't know I saw last time. Yep.
Your nose back.
Yeah.
Oh, a couple of pieces over there.
So the $600 is that a fair special?
No, that's the normal price. That's the everyday price. At the fair, you get 5% off. It's on. There's a coupon code on our card there, or if you just buy it while you're here, it'll give you 5% off.
If I buy it today, can I take a note?
Oh yeah. Yep. So there's quite a few little pieces there, and there's some finer stuff there. I'm gonna take this and the concentrates that went down through the machine, and I'm gonna recombine these and run them one more time through the 100 mesh screen to see how far down I can take this.
You're in his way.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine. So. So normally I would not do this, but for the sake of the next demo, I'm just combining the two sizes of concentrates to run it through our smaller screen size. And
Is that when you would need to thinner that dual fine?
yeah, the finer you can go, the more excess material it's going to cut out. This two-stage machine does it all at once. You can run more material through a duplex like this. Most people put a 30 mesh screen up here and then a 100 mesh screen down there, and by the time you can run several buckets through it and come out with like a teaspoon of super fine concentrates, and you have half a pan here and less than half a pan there, and it all classified out, making it easy to separate. But that one costs $2,533. They have that one. They have all these at Alaska Mining and Diving now. Yes, they're carrying them. Just about 3 weeks ago, we started getting them in there.
What is it?
That's just a backpack setup for. So that's an $800 setup there. You get the pack frame and all the stuff goes with it there. Oh, I didn't clean this out.
Put it on, you're good to go.
Yep. Well, the machine only weighs 12 pounds, so with all that stuff, it's a pretty easy haul. You're probably less than 30 pounds altogether if you get a good lightweight battery like power tool batteries or a lithium battery, and a small pump. The pump only weighs a couple pounds.
Relax.
This power tool battery will last you 4 or 5 hours, and if you can carry a couple of them. And I have a 20 amp hour lithium battery that will run this thing for 8 or 9 hours.
I've got plenty if you want.
There you go. Yeah, that is a good way to go. Let that drain out there.
And you have to have a top property site through that.
Yeah, you have to be able to put water into it. So if you're out in the field somewhere, then you need to draw water from a creek or or bring water with you. But a sump pump, a bilge pump, something that will get down in the water and draw it out. Some people, you could theoretically gravity feed one of these. Use a hose upstream. It really does not need much water pressure. The hole in the bottom here is 3/16 of an inch, so it doesn't take much to you just need more water pressure than comes out that little hole down at the bottom.
Section of PVC pipe.
Yeah.
But quick, it's just done you, Kurt.
Yep.
Did you get one of these cards?
I did a few, and I got.
Okay, thank you. Yep. It weighs about 12 pounds. There's 3 different screen sizes you can choose from. These are gravimetric separators. They separate by size and specific gravity. It uses a pulsing action up and down through a screen in this top tray that allows the gold to settle down and displaces all the light material. We use steel shot, 1/4 inch steel jig shot that sits on top of the screen and helps that along. It keeps the light material from getting down to the screen and helps trap the gold. each pulse of water up through the screen, and that shot, which is called bedding material, lifts and separates the bedding material and then pulls it down and closes it together. And because it's spherical, it can't lock together and form an impassable barrier, so the gold will always be able to find its way down to the screen. The only time that won't happen is if the screen gets completely packed solid with gold, which has happened, and flat gold covering up the screen, and the water can't get up through it, and then you have to stop and clean out. Otherwise, these are self-cleaning, and you can continue feeding material until you're too tired to feed material into it. The heavies will just continue displacing the lights, and because there's so little water pressure, it really is the material pushing the other material out, and the water is just there to keep everything in suspension and pull it down, put it in suspension and pull it down over and over and over again. Pretty amazing stuff. So I did not invent mineral jigs themselves, but I did come up with the design of these little portable jobbies, and I have a patent pending. I started last year selling these here. Last year was our first time at the fair, and we had these plastic green models, and we've since upgraded to aluminum, same weight, but it's just a little stronger, a little more durable, and they're actually easier to build. So, but they're made to be portable, and it gives you a higher recovery rate than pretty much anything else out there. Mineral jigs are used all over the world in gold mining and gem mining, and I'm actually going to add a shark's tooth and 2 sapphires to the material I run through here to prove that it will trap those. Now this is the third part of an ongoing experiment. We started with a bucket of material from Willow Creek that Colby and his family went and mined. They're novice miners. He's my camera guy, and he took his family up there, and they found a spot, and they just shoveled material, gave all the kids a scoop, and they just scooped stuff into the jig all day long. And then he brought me the bucket of concentrates, and he didn't know if there's gold in it or not. So we found gold. We ran it through this machine with a 30 mesh screen right here, which has holes big enough you can see through them, but they're still pretty small. That's our largest screen. That still eliminates quite a bit of material, the excess, but it allows enough of the heavy materials to get through that you don't have to slow down. You can feed this one pretty fast. That duplex jig over there with 2 hutches, you can feed about 1/4 of a cubic yard per hour through that. That's 1,000 pounds every hour. This one you go a little bit slower, but not much. It just doesn't have the redundancy of having a second hutch, and so you don't want to accidentally overfeed it and push material out the front. Let it push the material out the front for you. This is the next stage that we did. We put it through this 60 mesh screen, which has twice as many holes per inch, and so they're much smaller, and that resulted in what you see right here. This gold pan has all of the concentrates. We have what's called the oversized concentrates that are in the top tray, that are the things that are too big to go through the screen that I just showed you, and all of the material that's heavy that got down through the screen and made it into this tray down here. I have a little bit more to add in there because I cleaned this out. Okay, so you have 2 sizes of concentrates. That's what a mineral jig does differently. Aside from having a higher recovery rate, it classifies while it's trapping the gold. So you get 2 sizes of concentrates. I'm going to feed this back in there, and we're just going to see how much further we can refine this down. And we're going to prove that it won't spit out, which at this point it's very easy because there's no big rocks. The first time through, there were rocks that were like, I just threw that, there it goes. 3/4 of an inch and smaller. It was unscreened, but I just eyeballing it, I'm pretty sure there was nothing bigger than 3/4 of an inch. And it kept, I had 6 sapphires and 1 shark's tooth, and all the kids that were here were helping me run it, so I gave them each a sapphire. There were 4 of them, and so I have 2 left and 1 shark's tooth, and I added them in each time I run it. I'm going to add these in, and then we'll run this through here. And the gold that we found is back in here too. I've combined all the concentrates. There's at least 1 fairly big size flake, one kind of medium-sized flake, and a few little pinpricks. So we'll just add this in here. So all we have to do is plug in water. They all come with a hose just like this, a 10-foot Flexzilla hose, and a quick disconnect set. And these are very, very user-friendly, lightweight. The hose is pliable and lightweight. Pump's already on. Hook up to power. This is wired for AC power or 12-volt DC. I have a voltage regulator on a power tool battery because I like using power tool batteries. They're lightweight and small, and I can run this machine for 4 or 5 hours on just this battery right here. And you just flip a switch from AC to DC and press the button, and it starts. Motor is driving that rocker arm, which just makes that diaphragm push the water up and down through that screen. And as I add material in here, it'll start pulsing the material up and down. And I don't really have a scoop that's small enough to spoon this in here, so I'm just going to pour it in. And the lighter material is just flowing out the front as it works. Now, everything that I've done in this 3-part experiment can be done all at once in that 2-stage machine behind you guys. It's got a duplex jig sitting on top of a simplex jig, all driven by the same motor. And if you take the mounting hardware off, there's a bolt connecting the 2 frames together on the front and one on the back, and then a drive link bolt. If you take those 3 bolts out, the top unit is a mining machine all by itself.
Wait.
That's the world's first multi-stage portable mineral jig. Nobody's ever made one that you can carry around. Nobody's ever made. These are actually all the world's first portable mineral jigs. I have a patent pending for all of these. That 2-stage one, I call it a portable multi-stage triplex mineral jig. And although these others have been made on larger scale around the world, they're used in industrial gem mining and gold mining. They're massive, and they cost many thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars. But nobody's ever done anything like that before. My family's been building mineral jigs for a long time, since the early 80s. That's how I learned about mineral jigs, mining as a kid with my dad and my grandpa. So if you look in here, it's kind of clouding up. The material is just being pulsed up and down. So it's not rushing out of the machine. Yes, the water's moving fast right here, but back here, there's really very, very little laminar water flow. It doesn't start moving that way. It's just on the very surface. And as material gets towards the front, it starts picking up speed. So unlike a sluice box, you're never going to wash material out. The only way the gold can really escape is if you dump so much material in there, it pushes the gold gets out before it has a chance to go down. I'm just going to let... What's that? Well, it does in relation to gold panning, I suppose, but it's much less water than a sluice box uses. Most sluice boxes will need 1,200 gallons per hour, or 15 or 1,600 gallons per hour. Some of them more if you have a high banker or something. You can run this with about 500 gallons per hour, probably down to about 350 gallons per hour. The bottom end of the pressure range for your garden hose at home. You only need enough water to overflow this. It doesn't have to push the pump. The pulsing action's pushing the water. You just have to have enough water coming in that it's still going up while this little bit of water is going down. And I'll go ahead and turn this off. I think it's pretty much cleaned out enough. You could let this go for a few more minutes and clear out a little bit more of the sand that's in there. But once you stop adding material, it really stops. The heavies are no longer pushing lights out. It's just the water. And I see both Sapphires and the Shark's Tooth up there. But like I said, that was easy this time because there were no gravel pushing it out. But here's the Shark's Tooth, and here's 1, 2 of the Sapphires. And when you add, same thing happens to gold though. When you add the gold in, it sinks direct, right where it hits the water, it goes straight down to the screen. So the majority of the gold, when I have a lot of gold in here, will be right in the back where I feed it in. It'll all be down in the bottom, right in the back. It usually doesn't even make it up to the front. But we'll go ahead and dump this out and see what it looks like and how much material there is. And we'll get the jig shot out of it so we can see the gold.
How much do you charge?
That one is $2,533 for the $600. Yeah. The one on the table over there, which is the top half of that, is $1,855. And these are all also at Alaska Mining and Diving Supply in Anchorage. They carry these as well. Yeah, I have a 12-volt pump that I use. There's a million different types of 12-volt bilge pumps or sump pumps. I've had pumps that cost as little as $10 and weigh 1 pound or a few ounces. The one I have right now weighs about 7 pounds, and it puts out 1,500 gallons per hour because that's about what you need for that tall setup there. But these need much, much less. Okay, so that's done. Where's my box? I'm going to dump it out into here to get the first look at it. Those are Ethiopian sapphires. Colby is a cameraman. He does documentaries and works for production companies. He's traveled around the world, and one of contact he made gave him those sapphires. Okay, sometimes if there's a lot of gold, like I said, sometimes you'll see some trapped. Oh, I see a couple pieces right here.
Larger than.
There's a couple little pieces right there. Yeah, the stuff that's too big to go through the screen will be in this bucket here or right on top of the screen if it didn't dump out when I just did that. But it's right in the back. What you want to look for is any gold that's right up in the front. When you're cleaning out, if you find gold right up in the front, that means some may have left the machine. If it got that far forward, you might have fed it a little too fast. So it's a good clean. Oh, there's another piece over here. So I see a couple pieces over here, one over there. I'll wash this into here, and then I'll take the jig shot out real quick by putting it through a bucket screen. It's a very easy process. Let's go ahead and take this off. Oh, I turned that off. I'm Sid, yeah. Thank you. Yep, I live in Wasilla. I grew up here in Palmer. My grandfather built the first fully onboard water recycling multi-stage mineral jig plant here in Alaska. And we've built mineral jig plants and operated them to gold mine and also to mine lead out of rifle and pistol ranges for the military. And that's where my know-how comes from around mineral jigs. But by trade, I work for the Department of Corrections, and I've been, I've 21 plus years in the military.
Got it then.
That gets all the big rocks out of it. Okay, and then I'm gonna set this aside. I already pulled the sapphires and shark's teeth out, so I don't care about that part. Held that back to there. I'm gonna put this in the gold pan. And I don't know if you know this, but gold floats. The little gold, it's hydrophobic, so it will begin floating. I put surfactant in the water, some jet dry, in the recirculating water setup, but it will still start to float as you go through the process. When you're panning out your concentrates, definitely put a little bit of jet dry in it to help it, to break the surface tension of the water, or a spot of soap or something. Yeah, it will float away. And the cool thing about mineral jigs, if you have super fine gold in there, it will reliably capture gold down to 350 mesh, which is, what we just used was 100 mesh. You couldn't even see the holes. 350 mesh is even way smaller. You can't really see it until it starts floating on the surface and begins to clump together. It will start to gather together on the top, and it's pretty neat. I just took some pictures of that happening yesterday after one of the demos, and I've just turned that off, didn't I? And yeah, it's pretty cool. So this will catch it. The jigging action actually breaks the surface tension of the water, but once you get it collected, all bets are off. It's going to start doing that. There's that big piece of gold again. So I'm just going to get rid of some of these larger rocks that came through with the jig shot. They were smaller than a 1/4 inch, but they keep getting back in because I'm not using clean jig shot each time.
Like it's not off.
And I see a piece of gold over here. So I'm gonna go ahead. Well, I'll go a little bit more. Take these bigger rocks out. My camera guy over there reminds me after these that I'm supposed to be where the camera can see me. Okay, so that's probably far enough to get it down and then reveal some gold. So we'll wash this sand back. There's that big piece is over here. There's another small piece right there.
Wow.
And this is just the big gold. This is not what is down below. The super fines are in the bucket and below it, yeah. But there's
Somewhere.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that I see so far.
And then very
Yeah.
easy to set up and take care of.
It's pretty easy, yeah. Oh, the machine, it really is. And because I tell people, I will stand by it. If anything ever goes wrong, just give me a call. Everybody who buys one has my contact info, and we're not going anywhere. If the diaphragms ever wear out or the gasket up here ever wears out, you don't even have to pay for those. I'll send you those for free. But okay, well, we saw some gold. Let's see. Oh, there's even a couple more in there. Yeah. Colby, there's definitely more gold in here than we saw the first couple times, so that's good to see that. That's the first gold he's ever found, so he's pretty happy about that. And then I'm going to put this small... Thanks for watching. Yeah.
all he did. Kill it quick and some stuff and bring it.
That's exactly right. Yep. Okay, so there's a piece of gold that was floating. I just touched it and it sank. You can see like 2 pieces of gold right there. One of them's kind of long. Yep. So those long needles get through the screen pretty easy, but those are actually pretty big compared to what else is probably in here.
Very.
Yeah. You're welcome. All right.
Let's get started.
Yeah.
He wants to start.
Yeah. Oh, it's super fun. I mean, he'll still get to pan. It'll just save him a lot of work. You can pan the concentrates and you're going to find gold versus panning for hours and maybe something. You can, yeah.
Well, thanks.
All right, you're welcome.